say your installation's around 66%, 2/3. So what do you feel good with how they've grasped it so far?
I do. Again, we do have some experienced guys. You can see some recall from what we did in spring practice, which is a positive. We try to get our base coverage concepts in, and then as we go into the pads, but the game has been two below the waist the last 2 days as well, so everybody looks good in two below the waist. So tomorrow the physicality will enter the equation. So if anything, we'll try to be more simple tomorrow than we were the first 2 days, and let the guys go play, because ultimately it still comes down to getting off blocks, tackling, those type of things, and that's what we got to find out if we can do tomorrow.
The guys were talking about how your defensive scheme is a little bit more, it lets their instincts come out more than maybe their old scheme. Is that something you like to do, is let their instincts come out?
Well, I think certainly any coach would want your players to be able to play to whatever the top of their athletic ability is. However fast you are, you want to be able to play that fast. And we certainly try not to clutter their minds with a lot of possibilities, and just sort of make it simple where they can just go play fast.
Noticed you were animated a little bit today. Is that just your coaching personality, or some of the guys doing some stuff wrong out there?
You just have to coach to whatever the situation allows, and high-intensity mistakes require high-intensity corrections.
Yesterday, Coach Schultz said that this was going to be a very challenging part of his coaching career, I guess, the most ever. What, I guess, in terms of defense, how can you help make that, I guess, transition or anything smoother on his behalf by getting your guys acclimated, or any of the new guys coming in, JUCO guys, et cetera?
Well, I think certainly what Coach Holtz has afforded us the liberty to do on defense is try to establish an identity that can be sustained at the school for a long time. Where we can have pride in what the defense means here at Louisiana Tech, which can happen through recruiting classes and be something that it doesn't graduate with one class. That no matter who graduates, that there's a standard of a style of defense that we play at Louisiana Tech, and that style has to go directly translate into what wins. Not in terms of style points, but we want, because your defense ultimately creates the winning culture of your football team. Your defense makes you hard to be beaten, and that's what we want to do. Sometimes before you really know how to win, the first thing you have to do is be hard to beat. And if you're hard to beat, chances are you'll end up with more points in the team a lot of the weeks that you end up playing. How
quickly, though, do you think that you need to get everyone to a point where you're comfortable so coach can kind of say, all right, defense, we're good with defense, let me focus on offense, we can kind of go from there?
Well, I don't know. It sort of works in two parts. One, you'll never be comfortable. There's always something to fix. And certainly we play a schedule this year, especially in the first 6 weeks of the season, where we'll face some of the sternest tests of all different varieties and styles of offense. So we are not afforded, if you watch NFL, we're not afforded 4 preseason games. College football is the only sport at any level, scholastic or professional, that doesn't play any type of exhibition game. The first time that our players will play this defense will be in Norman, Oklahoma, in front of 90,000 people facing a top 5 Sooner team. So you don't get a chance to say, oh, is this exactly how it works? We got to know it from day one. So that's a fantastic challenge. At the same time, because our players are aware of that challenge, you can sense their urgency to get it right now. We can't wait until October, November to be good. We have to know what we're doing from day one.
How obvious has it been that your veteran-laden group is your secondary?
You can tell that there's guys back there that have been in the game, but I think sometimes I have been around guys that have been veterans and you wouldn't know it either. It would be oversimplifying it to say it's only because of their experience, and I think that would take away from the who they are. I think we have some personalities back there that are very mature individuals that have a passion for this game, that take their craft very seriously, and in a way I think that supersedes their playing experience. So when they're coached by Coach Bradford or Coach Baker, they really try to do it exactly the way that they're taught.
And then when you first took the job, you commented on how you noticed that Coach Hester really demanded a lot, and you know that that's where it started. Now that you've seen your first off season, and that's really where the strength coach comes in, is in the off season. What's your impressions?
Yeah, that has to be the rock of our program. The strength coach, more than anything, relates to the how that you play. Certainly offenses have a system and defense have a system. There's a what you do. but the how you do it is more important. I think sometimes that's what's hard for fans to really tell. They see it, they know it when they see it, but they don't know why. And just that way that team plays with a snap, they play with a strike, they play with and a lot of times that comes from your strength room because they get mentally to affect those kids. They get to mentally touch those kids so much more often than we do as a coaching staff. So just in the first 2 days, it looks like our guys are in good shape from what they've done in the summer. I think they have a lot of pride in Coach Hester and what he does up in that room. And any success we have will begin with his efforts, and the first credit will be really bestowed upon his shoulders.
Can you notice that they've kind of picked up on some of his personality traits at all?
Well, if they all start talking like him, then we'll know that we maybe need a little separation. You know what I mean? But yeah, his fingerprints are on this team. I just think that they want to embrace who he is and what he stands for.
When you have someone like Houston coming from a Big Ten school, him missing the spring, is that a big deal? Him not being able to, I guess, get his feet wet in the system a little bit, and him just coming in I don't know when he came in, but the past couple months, whenever he came in, does that matter that he missed the spring?
It's not ideal. It would have been better if he was here in the spring, but I think what makes two things that are unique in his situation, his age, experience, and maturity, just of who he is, again, as an individual, helps. And then the changing of the rules where this summer he was able to meet one-on-one with Coach Giles, be able to go over some things that you couldn't do up until this year, where we were able to have some X and O contact, not on the field, in a ball situation, but certainly in a classroom explaining what our scheme is. There's some same as in terms of what some things he's done in the past. A lot of times it's more of it's a foreign language class more than it's, you already know what the words are, now you have to know what our words are. And Houston's a smart guy. He's picked it up pretty quickly.
Is he going to be in that same kind of role that he was at Illinois in that hybrid? We saw him stand up a little bit today in that linebacker role.
Certainly, yeah. The guy that can sort of play forward or going backwards, I think gives you a lot of flexibility with what you have to defend offensively these days.
You have on your defensive line, you lost 4 seniors. You got a lot of guys back that have played a lot of snaps, but losing 4 seniors and 3 starters, almost 4 starters, really, there could be a potential leadership gap. Is that where you see some of those guys look to Houston, who's played in the Big Ten for 3 years?
I think that's going to happen. I think, when you start talking about leadership and things like that, that usually comes from, you have to kind of go into some dark places to find out who your leaders are. I think that happens some in summer training, but now that's what you want to establish here in the next 2 weeks when it's 95 degrees out at 4 in the afternoon. Because really that's where your leaders speak up. Everybody wants to grab the microphone in the locker room or at halftime, but by then it's too late. So I think just knowing Houston and who he is, I imagine that he will step up in those occasions. There's certainly leadership is certainly a question on our entire football team because of what I would say is the non-typical route that most of our seniors have. A lot of our seniors are not fourth-year players. We have sophomores that have been on this campus longer than most of our seniors. So it's not your traditional college football team where you've got player development. These guys have been groomed into their roles that now it's their natural progression to take over. Unfortunately, no one that we play cares. So we have to find a way immediately to establish that hierarchy of leadership because really it's hard to be good without it.
Coach has talked a lot about finding leaders on this team. How do you, in your experience, balance needing to get in there and instruct and yell and motivate versus allowing guys like a Houston Bates or somebody else step up and take that role?
Yeah, well, I think the way that the game is now, I still think no different than parenting, no different than else. The coach has to set the tone, and what you do is you have the message. Coach Holtz has his message, and you deliver the message, and then what you're looking for is, especially when adversity comes about, you're looking for who starts repeating your message, who is taking shelter in that message and inviting everybody else to say, hey, follow this lead. And then when you have that, that's when you're starting to go from a coach-driven team to a player-driven team. That's certainly something that I think was an issue. That's been an issue for this program coming in, again, because of all the graduation that took place the year before and because of our non-traditional seniors. So that's something that if we said today that we have the answer for, we don't. That's something that we have got to find. And you've got to find it before you go to Norman because it's too late by the time you get there. You've got to establish who we're going to follow when adversity strikes because it is going to strike.